had a great relationship and great trust in everything Patrick Head and Adrian Newey did. I just had a love affair with that car in 1992. I was on a high because I had lost weight. I was the strongest and most committed I'd ever been my whole life. And I've been waiting for this moment. I knew it would probably be my last chance at winning the world championship. And I wasn't wrong. World champion of 1992, Nigel Mansell. Next, at America F1.
Yeah, America F1. America F1. It's a golden run. America F1.
The Lion, a renowned aggressive charger, world champion Nigel Mansell was never afraid to push the accelerator or his luck during his 15-season F1 career. A story of struggle and success. Nigel Mansell, world champion 1992. Number of races 187, number of race wins 31, podium finishes 59, pole positions 32. Teams Lotus from 1980 to 1984, Williams from 1985 to 1988, then again in 1991 to 1992, then again in 1994, Ferrari from 1989 to 1990, and McLaren in 1995. He's the only person to hold the Formula One title and the IndyCar title in the same year. Right after he retired from Formula One, he went to IndyCar, won the championship there. Getting a taste for driving when he was 7 and inspired by Scottish racer Jim Clark, Nigel Mansell, born 8th of August 1953, was always drawn to the world of racing. But facing the disapproval of his father and using his own money, Mansell came to a sport a little later in life than most racers. After a stint in karting, the Brit entered the Formula Ford Series in 1976. Winning 6 of the 9 races, he competed in the first, which was his debut. His talent grew, and in 1977 he was crowned the British Formula Ford champion. Despite breaking his neck in a practice session earlier that season, which according to medical staff almost saw the champion become a paraplegic or quadriplegic. Wow. Ignoring advice from doctors to rest for 6 months and not drive competitively again, Mansell returned to racing after having quit his job as an aerospace engineer and selling the majority of his belongings to fund his passion. Just 3 weeks before the accident, this was perhaps the world's first insight into Mansell's infamous win or bust mentality, which only sums up the man himself, but his do or die racing style. By selling the house he and his wife Roseanne owned, Mansell was able to buy his way into Formula 3, 1978 to 1980, but a horrific collision that saw the March Triumph cartwheel across the track put him back in the hospital, this time with a crushed vertebrae. Damn, the guy had some bad luck, right? I mean, a broken back, a broken neck, and he still pursued racing. He just loved it so much. He was just so passionate about it. But Mansell was determined to return to racing, and after a dizzying qualifying tryout, he became the test driver for the Lotus Formula One team, even though later he confessed being full of painkillers for that test session. Far from being happy with his lot, Mansell was desperate to prove himself, and after showing his blossoming skill not to mention setting Lotus' fastest Silverstone lap time. The constructor's owner, Colin Chapman, gifted him 3 F1 races in 1980. The first of these was the Australian Grand Prix, but engine failure on the development version of the Lotus 81 was to mar his debut. Not only was he forced to retire on the 40th of 54 laps, but a fuel leak in the cockpit left Mansell with first and second degree burns on his rear. I mean, this guy cannot have any luck here. Mansell's brakes failed on his second race during the Dutch Grand Prix, and he wasn't even able to start the third after an accident during qualifying at Imola. Despite these setbacks, the plunky Brit had done enough to impress Chapman, who rewarded Mansell with Mario Andretti's seat after he moved to Alfa Romeo for the 1981 season. Plagued by a troublesome car, 24 of the 59 starts during his 4 years as a full-time driver with Lotus, although he did achieve 5 third-place finishes, with his first podium appearance in 1981 Belgian Grand Prix race, which he impressively jumped up 7 places during the race. In the midst of 1982, Mansell, motivated by the need to earn extra money, announced his intention to compete in the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Concerned the event was an unnecessary risk, Chapman, who had become a close friend of the driver, personally gave Mansell the £10,000 he was offered not to take part, and extended his contract to the end of the 1984 season. In a deal that allegedly made Mansell a millionaire after Chapman's death in 1982, and in-team relations diminished over the following years. But where Lotus boss Peter Warr had been obstinate, Frank Williams saw determination, offering Mansell a 1985 seat on the team alongside the 1982 champ Keke Rosberg. Despite an okay start to the season and a terrifying middle in which Mansell, while qualifying for the French Grand Prix, broke the record for the highest speed crash in F1 history, 200 miles an hour or 321 kmph, resulted in a concussion that stopped him from competing the next day. The Brit would go on to repay Williams' faith. After 71 F1 starts, he finally secured his first Formula One victory at the 1985 European Grand Prix held at Brands Hatch, England, and immediately followed it up with another one in South Africa. Mansell quickly established himself as the contender for the World Championship in 1986, won the greatest season racing to victory 5 times, and appearing on the podium 9. One of his second-place finishes was at the Spanish Grand Prix, which featured one of the closest finishes in F1 history, with just 0.014 seconds between him and the racing legend Ayrton Senna. The championship came right down to the wire, with 3 drivers vying for the title: Alain Prost, Mansell, and his new Williams teammate Nelson Piquet, who publicly called the British driver an uneducated blockhead and criticized his wife Roseanne's appearance. Mansell only needed to finish third to win, but with just 19 laps to go, his left rear tire exploded on the Adelaide Straight circuit, handling Prost the second of his 4 championships. Things weren't all bad, however, as Mansell was voted the BBC's Sports Personality of the Year, something he would later win again in 1992, being one of only 4 people to do so. True to form, 1987 was another roller coaster year for Mansell. Perhaps the highest high was an emotional victory at Silverstone, which he made up a staggering 28-second deficit to beat rival Piquet. On the flip side, during qualifying for the race at Suzuka, Mansell, attempting to beat Piquet in his last lap, hit a guardrail and crashed in spectacular fashion, resulting in a spinal concussion that saw him only miss the last 2 races but allowed Piquet to scoop his 3rd championship, calling it a win for intelligence over stupidity, with Mansell finishing as runner-up for the second year in a row. Where in 1987 ended on a sour note, 1988 looked full of promise. Piquet had moved from Lotus, and Mansell, who had racked up more wins in the previous 2 seasons than anyone else on the roster, was for the first time in his career the team's number 1 driver. However, things didn't quite go as planned, mainly because Honda took its turbo power to McLaren, which left Williams clutching at experimental straws, most of which failed to pay off. Car trouble combined with a bout of chickenpox meant Mansell was only able to compete in 2 out of 14 races, although somewhat meticulously his meticulous driving resulted in some podium finishes. Mansell was seeing red in 1989 driving for Ferrari, said to be the last driver personally picked by Enzo Ferrari, who even gifted the Brit a 1989 Ferrari F40. Damn, could I have that? Bro, can you let me borrow that for a bit? Let me drive that F40. Mansell was keen to please, and he did, winning his inaugural race for the team at his least favorite track, not to mention the home circuit of arch-rival Piquet. The Audiodrome Internacional Nelson Piquet in Brazil. The race sparked a tide of adoration from Italian fans who admired Mansell's fearlessness, his passionate approach for driving, earning him the nickname El León, or the Lion. Changes in engineering rules meant Mansell was the first ever driver to win a race with a car that featured a semi-automatic gearbox, the gearbox that would go on to plague him for the rest of the season. This, plus other technical troubles, caused Mansell to retire in 7 of 16 races. He was disqualified at the Canadian Grand Prix for reversing in the pit lane. Mansell was also barred from the following Grand Prix meet in Spain. However, in every one of the 6 races he did finish this year, he clinched a spot on the podium, including a win in Hungary, where he had started 12th, totaling enough championship points to cruise into 4th place. Mansell left Ferrari for a second of 3 starts or stints at Williams, which was undoubtedly the most successful Mansell team at that time. Mansell was runner-up in the title race for the 3rd time in 1992, netting a total of 5 wins, including the Spanish Grand Prix. I mean, dang, this guy was 3rd or 2nd 3 times. The resilience to keep coming back and keep training harder and harder to get that first victory and have that world championship that for years you couldn't grasp. Says a lot. Says a lot about his spirit, about his character, and his determination. Mansell's effort to reach the summit of F1 would totally and finally be rewarded in 1992. He enjoyed 5 consecutive wins straight out of the gate, just missing out on the top step in the 6th round at Monaco by 0.2 seconds. A trio of wins came mid-season, including one at Silverstone, which saw him crowned as the most successful British driver of all time with 28 wins at that time, surpassing Jackie Stewart's record of 27. Euphoric, a wave of joyful spectators who had endured the 3-time runner-up's highs and lows right alongside him and shared the common belief that would be Mansell's year, invaded the track, and an outpouring of Mansell mania, rejoicing in their hero's victory before the final lap had even finished. Once the checkered flag had wavered, thousands more came onto the circuit waving flags, shouting his name, joined the leagues of celebrations. I remember that because he was talking about this in an interview. And he said that was, other than holding that trophy up, that was the greatest moment in his racing career. What the love that he got from the British fans that day. And it just, he said he relives that moment all the time. And it's something he'll never forget. And he said that he wanted to thank the fans that were there that day. And he wanted to thank all the British fans for giving him all the love and support that they have through the seasons of his career. And it was a very, it was a very touching moment. And you could see how he really, really appreciated it. So, just 2 races later, Mansell, by then 39 years old, not to mention his army of long-suffering and loyal fans, were rewarded for their patience as the racer, after coming in second at the Hungarian Grand Prix, finally took home the title of world champion. I mean, this guy won the world championship at 39 years old. So there's hope for Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton after all. Mansell set the record for competing in the most races, 180, before winning his first F1 championship. With 5 races still to go, Mansell also snared the record for winning the title in the fewest races since the 16-race season was introduced, as well as most wins and poles in one season, all of which have since been broken. Well, they have 24 races now also. Then a falling out with Williams largely over money, and the fact that Prost was rumored to be his teammate for the 1993 saw Mansell announce his retirement and move to the USA, where he competed in the IndyCar series, becoming the first ever rookie to take pole and win in his debut race. Despite a severe crash and injuring his back once again, Mansell won the championship and is the only driver to hold both the Formula One and kart championships series simultaneously. The racing season in 1994 was overshadowed by the tragic death of motorsport legend Ayrton Senna, who was driving for Williams during the 3rd race of the season at Imola. Now left with no world champions on the grid, with Prost retiring following his title win the year before and dwindling viewership, F1 bosses were desperate to get Mansell back. A deal was worked out around the IndyCar commitments that allowed him to return for one mid-season race at the French Grand Prix for Williams, as well as for final 3 more races. Not in a position to compete for the championship, Mansell's main role was to boost Williams' standings in the Constructors' title and support his British teammate Damon Hill in his bid for the title. Hill missed out on becoming the champ by 1 point to Michael Schumacher after the two had a clash during the last race of the season in Australia, which we all remember, where Mansell went on to claim his last Formula One victory. Subbed out for David Coulthard in 1995, Mansell moved on to McLaren, where he missed the first 2 races due to being too wide to fit inside the narrow cockpit. Despite the team creating a new car for him in just 33 days, allowing him to compete at Imola, where a crash saw him finish 10th, Mansell felt the vehicle handled poorly, and after the Spanish Grand Prix, the 4th round, he quit motorsports for good, although he had a brief dalliance with the British touring car in 1998. A father of 3, still married to his wife Roseanne, Mansell retired a rich and contented man, owning several successful business ventures, and was inducted into the Motorsports Hall of Fame in 1995. He will forever be remembered as a hard charger, a winner take all or winner crash all type of personality who accumulated 30 fastest laps, 31 wins, 32 pole positions, but who also endured 32 spectacular crashes. That was the Lion, Nigel Mansell. And with that, keep on racing, everybody.
You notice the way they go right to the left and then drift out to the right. That's where he went off. So he'll be keeping a weather eye out when he goes round there next time. And here he goes. This could be it. Mansell out of clearways and over the line now. Paddock Bend, 175 miles an hour. Up Druids Hill, into Druids Hill bend. Down Brown Hill bend. Watch the way he is inch perfect on the turns, minimising the amount of slippage, because you lose time if you don't keep on the line. Watch the spark striking from the under tray of his car from those skid plates. The vortices from the rear wings. The right-hander at Hawthorne there. He passes a slow man there, no problem, no time left. There's someone coming in front of him, let's hope he doesn't get in the way. And everybody in the Williams pit is watching Nigel Mansell's progress, as are we. And here he goes, past his teammate Nelson Piquet. I don't think he's going to do it on this lap. He's coming up behind one of the Minardis, and according to my stopwatch, it's 1 minute 7.91, which is definitely too slow, but officially it's 1 minute 7.878, and Nigel Mansell is still therefore second on the